Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are well and I hope you guys are staying safe. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this 6 cord wrap skirt, and it's something that you like, or it's something that you would love to make. Definitely keep watching. I think it's very beginner friendly and I think it's easy to replicate, so go ahead and keep watching. If you're new here, welcome. This channel is Sewing with Adunni, DIY with Sewing with Adunni actually, and it was created just for you to teach you loads of sewing crafts that you can do from the comfort of your home. If that sounds like a cup of tea, definitely consider subscribing. And if you're a returning subscriber, welcome back to my OGs. I love you guys. Shout out to the subscriber of the week in person of Katie, Numi, Asha. You're amazing. Thank you so much for your constant comments throughout the week. Your interaction, definitely amazing. I appreciate all of you for your constant support. All right, guys, this is what the skirt looks like after. And shout out to my sister for being my model. If you're interested, keep watching and don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Bye. Starting off at the top of the paper, go ahead and draw a top line. So your top line is a horizontal line that you draw on the pattern. So draw that across, and then you want to find the midpoint of the top line. So this midpoint is a vertical line. I know it doesn't look straight at the moment, but don't worry, it's the camera angle. I promise you it is straight. Now after drawing your lines, the next thing you want to do is you want to mark a quarter of your waist measurement, and in my case is 8 inches. Now I don't know if you noticed, but the 8 inches I kind of shared it across the midline. So I did 4 inches to the left of the midline and another 4 inches to the right of the midline. Then I went to draw a vertical line to square it down. So in total you should have 8 inches across all 3 lines. I don't know if that makes sense. So whatever a quarter of your own waist measurement is what you should be doing. So if your quarter of your own waist measurement is 10, you should do 5 inches to the left of the line and 5 inches to the right of the line. Now the next thing we want to do is you also want to mark the desired length, and after marking the desired length, you draw the bottom line at the end of the desired length. If need be, go ahead and elongate your lines as shown, and then when you get to the elongated lines at the bottom, so at the bottom horizontal line, mark 5 inches to the left and 5 inches to the right, just like I'm doing. After marking 5 inches to the left and the right, using your ruler, go ahead and connect like a triangle, just as shown. And the essence of this is that we have like our panels and we have a gauge. So it's like, funneling at the bottom, at the top rather, and then it's wide at the bottom. So again, this is a quarter of your waist. That's the first 3 lines, and then 5 inches to the left, 5 inches to the right, a quarter of your waist. So this works for any size. So if whatever your waist is, go ahead and do this. Now the next thing we're going to do is mark our sewing allowance onto the pattern, because I just thought that it's easier to just have the sewing allowance on the pattern. And the sewing allowance I'm using is 1/2 inch. So go ahead and mark that onto the pattern, 1/2 inch. And I already identified what 1/2 inch on my ruler is, and now I'm using that to mark the pattern all around. So like I said, guys, this is really easy, and if you need to watch the pattern drafting again just so you get it, go ahead and play it as many times as you want. It's absolutely free to keep watching. And if this is a video that you've enjoyed so far, I've got a couple of videos showing you how to make like different skirts. I'm going to put them in the icons above. I've got one on a double flare skirt, I've got one on a circle skirt, I've got one on a tiered circle skirt, I've got one on gathered skirt, pleated skirts. So watch them. Anyway, cut up your pattern as shown, and then this is what the pattern looks like. Now we're going to be cutting 4 pieces of this pattern as it is. So go ahead and get your fabric. I'm using this gorgeous fabric and my instruments or my new sewing tools from Prime. So Prime sent me this rotary cutter as well as this pair of scissors, and they also sent me a toolbox for you guys. So we're going to be doing a giveaway in March, and a lucky winner is going to be getting that toolbox. Grab the items on the screen and then let's get to cutting. So like I said, we're going to be cutting 4 pieces of this. So what I did is I folded my fabric into 2. We're trying to minimum waste, guys, sustainability. So fold the fabric into 2 so that the right sides are facing each other, and I'm going to cut the first 2 pieces as shown. So go ahead and cut. Remember that the allowance is already on the pattern, so no need to add your sewing allowance. Now after cutting the first 2, you want to get your fabric again, fold it again, and we're going to cut another 2 pieces. If you feel comfortable cutting all 4 at once, go ahead and do that. But like I said, I was trying to also make sure that we had minimal waste when it comes to the fabric. So I'm cutting the next 2 as well. So pin it in place and then go ahead and cut. I'm using my scissors from Prime, and boy, my god, that thing was just cutting through. It was literally just gliding through, guys. Definitely recommend the scissors. If you're interested in getting any of the things that I've put on in this video or that I've used in this video, check out the description box, guys. I've linked all of them to make it easier for you. After cutting all 4 pieces, here's what it looks like. So guys, go ahead and unpin the pattern from the pieces, and then if you like, pin the pieces together so that they stay put. The next thing to do is to modify the pattern so that we can cut the last 2 pieces. To modify the pattern, use the paper scissors and then cut out the straight line as shown. This ensures that the straight edges are at the beginning and at the end of the wrap skirt as it should be. So now that you have this, you're going to go ahead and cut this. I want 2 pieces. Now the pieces I'm using are the pieces that were left over from cutting the pattern. So again, like I said, 0 waste. So the other edge, or the folded edge when I was cutting the pattern, that's what I'm using here. So go ahead and align the pattern onto the pieces, pin it in place, and then go ahead and cut. Now at the edge, I'm adding an extra 1/2 inch, and that's because I didn't account for the allowance on this part, for the sewing allowance. However, for every other part, I accounted for the sewing allowance, and that's why you see 1/2 inch sticking out at this side. So again, we've cut out 2 pieces. Make sure the right sides are facing each other of these pieces, otherwise they are of no use. The right sides have to be facing each other when you cut. Now that you have all the pieces, this is what it looks like. Identify the wrong side and then put it aside. Now it's time to start sewing. So take the 4 pieces that you cut earlier, and if it helps you, you can label them piece number 1, piece number 2, piece number 3, piece number 4. And the first thing you want to do is you want to take 2 of those pieces, and then we're going to go ahead and lay them on each other, right sides facing each other, and we're going to sew the sides on 1/2 inch sewing allowance. Now let's illustrate quickly. I've cut this piece of paper to replicate what the sewing is going to look like, and I've labeled them 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you also have the side pieces, which has a straight edge. So as you can see, the side 1, side 2, and the edges are straight. The first thing you want to do is you want to take 2 of the panel pieces, sew them together like that. So that's 1 and 2. Then you can take, ignore the numbering, 3 on the right and then 4 on the left. And it doesn't really matter which is 3, which is 4, because again, remember, they are all the same size, guys. So far, this is what the skirt is going to look like when you're sewing. Now you also want to take one of the ones that have a straight edge, and you want to make sure the straight edge is facing outside. So the slant edge is the one that you're merging with the 3, and the slant edge is the one that you're merging with the 4 on the other side. So you have the straight edges on each side on the outside. Guys, that's literally how we're going to be sewing it. So let's get to sewing now that I've shown you. So take the last 2 pieces that I said to sew together, and then go ahead and sew. If you watched my last couple of videos, you guys already know that my new sewing machine is the Janome HD9 Professional sewing machine. It's a really heavy duty machine, and it glides through layers of fabric like butter. I absolutely love it, and I cannot recommend it enough. If you're a sewist who is intermediate or advanced, definitely say you should invest in this. It's absolutely worth it. Now after sewing the pieces, this is what the first 2 pieces look like, and like I already explained or illustrated, we're going to go ahead and attach the 3rd to one side and the 4th to the other side. So go ahead and get another piece, pin it in place if it helps. I recommend pinning it because certain dutches can be really slippery sometimes, and if you're not really good, if you're not very careful, it would literally just mess up your sewing. So go ahead and pin it in place, and after pinning it in place, repeat the same thing on the other side as well, and then sew on 1/2 inch. Now on this last side, what we're going to be adding next is going to be the last piece, the side piece that has a straight edge. So make sure the straight edge is on the exterior, and then the slant edge is where you are joining. So let's go ahead and sew, and if you need to reference the illustration that I did, go ahead, rewind a little bit and watch it. Alright guys, so after joining all 6 pieces, here's what it looks like. I went ahead to overlock with my Janome 2000D Air Threader, which is like an overlocker or serger, and this is what it looks like. It was really neat and really nice. Alright guys, next thing you want to do is you want to count 1, 2 sections from whatever side that you wrap your skirt on. So you can use the left or the right. There's no hard fast rule about it. I decided to use the right of the skirt, so I counted 2 panels, and on the second panel, the joining of it, you want to mark 1/2 inch at the top, and from that point you also want to mark another 1.5 inches. And what this does is so that you can make a gaping hole for the belt to go through. So losing the stitches there, and obviously you also have to take out the overlocking or serger stitches so that you have like a gaping hole. Ideally, if you were not rushing and if you were not being lazy like me, I would say that you overlock each seam separately as opposed to joining it together like I've just done here. Now after you have a gaping hole, this is what it should look like. We're going to go ahead and ensure that the edges or the straight ends are also hemmed. So go ahead and do a small fold as shown, as much as you can, and hem all the way to the bottom. Now after hemming, this is after taking out the seam and making sure I lock it in place. It's always very important to lock it in place. So when you're done, relock it at the top and then relock it at the bottom so that your stitches are not coming off. After doing that, this is what it looks like. Now the next thing is to notch it as shown, and what we're trying to do is just make sure that it's neat and we open up, you know, that space for the belt to easily go through and come out from. Now after notching it and opening it like this, we're going to go ahead and use like a tailor's web, and we're going to iron it on. And what that does, it just keeps it like apart and keeps it open, and also reduces the chances of, you know, the threads coming loose and, you know, the whole thing just fluffing off. So here's what it should look like with the hole, and here's where we are at the moment. So at the end of the day, by now I also expect that you've also, you know, sorted out the hem on the left and the right hand side. It's now time for us to sort out the hem at the bottom. For the hem, it's important that you just trim it like this, so 1/2 inch, and then just trim it downwards like a curve. And if you want to make yours curvier, you can go ahead and play with it. You can do like a bigger curve. It's entirely up to you. This is at the sides where they wrap, so it's fine. However, at the midpoint, again, you want to trim it 1/2 inch and just trim it like a curve all the way down. And what this does is just make sure that it's not all straight at the hem. Now go ahead and do a rolled hem, or just do as tiny as you can, and then go ahead and sew it in place. So far, this is what the hem looks like. I was, you know, when I had to sew it, and yeah, just take the time because it can be a lot, but just go ahead and hem. All right guys, this is what the skirt is looking like, and the last thing we need to do now is we need to cut out the tie or the belt for the skirt. So again, I'm just showing you guys the hem and the finished result. If you want, you can iron at this point, but like I said, we're going to sort out the belt or the tie. For the belt, we'll need 3 pieces. One that matches the circumference of the waist area. So go ahead and measure out the waist area as shown. And if it's done correctly, you should have 1.5 of your waist measurement. So in my case, it's 24 while on fold. So that's 48 while it's, you know, opened up. Now on one end, I always recommend having 20 to 22 inches on one end. So that's an extra length of 20 to 22 inches. So now we have the length of piece 2. And then on the second end, or the last end, I always recommend having 20 to 20 inches plus half your waist measurement. So that's 20 inches plus, if your waist is 10, if your waist is 20 rather, plus 10. So that will give you like 30 inches. So whatever your waist measurement is, plus an extra 20 inches. So let's move on to cutting out the fabric. So you cut out 3 pieces, and for each of these pieces, I always say that you make them as wide as 3 inches, and that's because you want to make sure that you have enough width so it's not too fat but it's also not too thin. I'm using my rotary cutter from Prime, and guys, this thing is so good and it's so sharp, so go ahead and, you know, use that. But I also like that it has like a safety thing, and I can lock it in place when I'm done with it, and you know, it's safe for everyone. So now that we have the pieces, we have the dimension. They're 3 inches in width. For the first one, notch the center. Now the essence of notching the center is this is the one that goes on the main skirt, and then mark out the desired width or length that you want. Remember that it was for 24 that I measured, so on fold this had to be 24 as well. Cut off any excess. Now this is for the other piece, the one that is going to be 20 to 22 inches. I'm working with 22 inches, I think. So when I had to mark like 11. Again, like I said, this is up to you. I think I had to measure mark like 10 or something. Yeah, so that's for the first piece, and then for the second piece, and then for the last piece or the third piece, you also want to go ahead and mark what you want. And remember, I said for this I recommend 20 inches plus half your waist measurement. So I'm gonna ahead to mark all 3, and go ahead and label if it helps you. 1, 2, 3. Your piece 2 should be the main piece that you need, the one that matches the width of the skirt. So go ahead and join all the pieces so that the right sides are facing each other, and after joining it, this is what it should look like. It should just be like one long piece of fabric. Identify the notched area, and then find the mid part of your skirt. So when you count all the joinings on your skirt, you should have one that is the midpoint as well. Identify the midpoint of your skirt and then identify the notched area of the belt, and we're going to match the notched area of the belt to the mid part of the skirt. After doing that, you're going to pin them. Now when you're pinning, it's very important that you pin so that the right side of the belt fabric is against the wrong side of the skirt fabric. Right side of belt, wrong side of skirt, and then you're going to go ahead and pin all the way from the middle point, pin all the way to the ends. Now when you get to the end, you fold it over as shown so that the right sides are against of each other, and then you pin it in place as well, just like I'm doing. So we're going to repeat this on the other side as well. So from the midpoint, you're going to pin all the way to the end, and then at the end you're going to fold it over as shown. So after pinning, go ahead and sew it on your sewing machine, and then when you get to the ends, ensure you sew it 1/2 inch down. Make sure the right sides are facing each other, and then after sewing, you're going to go ahead and turn it to the right side. If you need to push the corners out, push it out as shown, and this is what it looks like so far. So guys, the next thing you want to do is you want to start from the midpoint again, and now your fabric is going to be on the right side, and you want to fold over as shown. So really, you just want to fold it over with a notch, making sure the notch side is on the center, and then just fold as shown and sew it in place. Again guys, if you notice that it helps to pin it in place, please pin it in place. Don't hesitate to do that. It always makes your work easier. So go ahead and fold it over as shown on the right side, and then you're going to go ahead and top stitch in place. You have to make sure that your stitches are consistent and it's as smooth as it can be, because this is the right side of the fabric. That means that's the part that people are going to see. So go ahead and top stitch all the way to the ends, and then when you get to the end and you get to this point like this, you notice that it's a bit tricky. So you go ahead and fold both pieces over, and if you, again, like I said, hold in place with a pin if it helps you or it makes your work easier, and then go ahead and sew onto the very end like this. Alright guys, so we're going to repeat this on the other side as well. So on the other side, we have to start from the belt and then work our way back to the middle where we started from. So go ahead and do that as well. From the belt area, fold in the front and the back piece, and then go ahead and sew it in place. Alright guys, at this point, after doing all of that, you're literally done with your wrap skirt. What I expect is to give it a good iron, and then your wrap skirt is literally ready to go or ready to wear. Alright guys, so we've come to the very end of this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was worth your while, and I hope it was easy for you to follow. If you have any feedback, comments, let me know in the comment section below. And if you do make any of this, let me know by tagging me on the social media handle shown on the screen or the one in the description box below. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.